The following program contains disturbing visuals and is not suitable for general viewing. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. This documentary, produced by Outsider Films and directed by Callum Macre of UK, is being premiered on Headlines today, keeping in mind the highest traditions of the journalistic profession, the need to know the truth and the need to tell it.
Your place, James place.
This man is a senior Tiger commander, Colonel Ramesh. He has been taken prisoner and is being interrogated by government soldiers.
Don't lie.
No, sir. I understood, sir. I understood.
Yes.
But his captors don't just take trophy videos on their phones. They also take high-resolution photographs.
So the initial photographs, he's inside a military vehicle, and then we next see him dead with a gunshot wound to the head. Here, a bleeding entry wound to his temple, and then in some later photographs, a large gaping exit wound to the left side of the face. And if we look at the wider shots, we can see that he's been dragged outdoors. His clothing is ripped up at the back. And then after that, an improvised funeral pyre built around him, and the body is then burnt just outside the buildings in which he was shot, thereby destroying evidence of what had happened.
Among the most sinister and distressing of the images are those of women fighters who appear to have been systematically sexually assaulted before they were executed. Images filmed by government soldiers as war trophies. The use of sexual violence as an act of war is one of the most serious war crimes. Anyone guilty, or any officer who condones such violence, is liable to prosecution under the international laws of war. Among the bodies, this woman. It is Issei Priya, the Tiger singer and newsreader.
If you take the examples of what looked like a mass execution of prisoners, these all add up possibly to the claim that this was in fact systematic, and that could point to the highest levels in the military authority of Sri Lanka as being responsible for war crimes of summary execution, killing, and torture.
This is the ICU. But we don't have any ICU facilities, cardiac monitor. We don't have any laboratory facilities, we can check the blood. We don't have any antibiotic and drugs also. We several times inform our government, but government not willing to send any medicine here.
U.S. Embassy Colombo to Sextate, D.C. Sitrep 46. UN figures indicate that 78% of civilian deaths from January 20 to March 31 occurred in the safe zone.
This is our admission board without any facilities.
The deliberate denial of medicine and humanitarian aid to civilians is a violation of the Geneva Conventions.
There's more and more dead bodies everywhere and people just running away from the shells.
Fernie volunteers to help in the last remaining hospital in an abandoned school.
It was very shocking to see this area with a lot of blood everywhere and dead bodies around, no equipment, proper equipment. We have to reuse the blood that came out of the wounded area and just filtering using a white piece of cloth and then re-enter it into the patient.
The hospital administrator responsible for medical supplies is despairing.
Blood bag, antibiotic என சொல்லப்படும் நோய் எதிர்ப்பு மருந்து பற்றாக்குறைதான் ஒரு காரணமாகவும் நம்மிடம் இல்லை. இந்த வகையிலே இறப்பு சர்வ சாதாரணமாக நிகழ்வதாக காணக்கூடியதாக இருக்கின்றது.
The hospital suffers a direct hit.
இந்த வைத்தியசாலை தற்போது 750 மேற்பட்ட காயமடைந்தவர்கள் இருந்து கொண்டிருக்கும் பொழுது இங்கு இடவசதி இல்லாதபடியும் காயமடைந்தவர்கள் எல்லாமே அருகிலேயே படுத்திருந்தார்கள். அந்த நிலைமையில் நேரடியாக விடுதி இந்த செல்வது இந்த இழப்பு.
Among the dead, the hospital administrator. On the 21st of January, the government announces the creation of what they call a no-fire zone. In the hope of finding safety, scores of thousands of civilians follow the government's instructions and head to this zone. Among them are 2 international UN staff workers.
When we arrived in the no-fire zone, I mean, it literally was a sea of people. Tens of thousands of tents and tarpaulins, families sheltered under them, bits of tin leaning together with sticks holding them up.
They set up a UN hub, speak to the LTTE police, and notify both the UN headquarters and the government forces of their GPS coordinates.
We communicated those coordinates to the Sri Lankan forces. That this is the area that the UN had set up their operations in, and that could they please refrain from targeting this particular area. Three or 4 hours later, in the evening, we sustained a barrage of mortar attack coming from the south across the forward defensive line into the no-fire zone and into the food distribution centre. After the first few shells had landed, I went outside the bunkers in order to try to establish a communications link with the satellite in order to call Colombo to request that the Sri Lankan military redirect its fire away from us, because these ordnance were landing precariously close to our position, within 5 to 10 metres of where we were camped. As I was outside trying to make the communication, I was kind of crouched between some of the 44-gallon drums and sandbags, and the body of a young woman landed on top of me. Some of the shells came in. The explosive force had thrown her and landed kind of on me. She'd been decapitated, and most of her torso and her legs had been torn apart by obviously a fair amount of shrapnel that had gone through her when the shells struck. It was dark, it was frightening. There was shells incoming all over the place, and there was a lot of screaming and a lot of chaos. I kind of pushed the body off me and continued to try to establish the link, and I kind of had a sense that I was just waiting to die, that my luck was going to run out soon. When I went outside in the morning at about 6 o'clock, the scene was devastating. I mean, it was very, very distressing what was lying all around the field. With my limited knowledge of humanitarian law, I realised that in fact what I was witnessing was very, very serious potential war crimes that were being conducted. I started to take photographs. I had my staff take photographs. We also started to GPS things, and we noted the direction of fire for many of the incidents that occurred and the type of weapons that were used. And I would say to anyone that says to me, how do you know in the direction of fire? If you stand on the side of a freeway and a car goes past you, even if you've got your eyes closed, you know which direction the car's coming from. It's the same with weapons. You can always tell. There's a crucial point to be made about why the Sri Lankan government declared the no-fire zone within the effective range of all of the weaponry being used by the Sri Lankan military to fire in that direction. There is only one intent, and that is because you don't really care whether or not you're going to kill the people that are located in that safe zone. Or, more importantly, you're actively targeting them.
Do you believe that's what was happening?
Yes. Yes.
So this is an execution scene with 5 men dead and a young boy. And this is the same pattern that we see in the other footage.
The boy is Balashandran Prabhakaran, the 12-year-old son of the Tamil Tiger leader Velupillai Prabhakaran. The murdered men are believed to be his bodyguards.
So he has 5 gunshot wounds. This was likely the first shot fired. It looks dirty because there's soot around it, and there's a speckling from propellant tattooing indicating that the distance of the muzzle of the weapon to this boy's chest was 2 to 3 feet or less. So he could have reached out with his hand and touched the gun that killed him. So this is a homicide, this is a murder, there's no doubt about it.
Since that interview, we've obtained these chilling photographs. They show Balachandran alive and apparently guarded by a government soldier. Encoded metadata suggests these photographs were taken 2 hours earlier than the ones which show him dead. It seems this young child was held prisoner by government troops and even offered a snack before he was taken and executed in cold blood.
This is a war crime. This is a crime. So what one would expect, of course, is that it would be thoroughly investigated.
Slowly, everybody was just walking towards the bridge. And this old lady was asking the Sri Lankan officer there for water, and then he just laughed at her and pointed to the dirty water that's going underneath the bridge and said, "Go and drink that." For past 3-4 days we didn't had anything to eat or drink. All I can see is just dead bodies just in with the water, just sort of floating on top of the water, and just have to with the hand just put everything aside and just drink the water.
Girls suspected of being Tamil tigers are loaded onto trailers to be taken away. They are photographed by government soldiers. These 20 seconds of footage are all we have. We have no idea what happened to them.
When I went for the first time in Bani, all very green. It's just beautiful place, beautiful land. And now I'm just looking around. This is just like dead bodies everywhere, burnings, shell bombs, and it just looked very dead and dark everywhere.